Welcome to part 2 of this series, where we will be building an end-to-end DevOps system for a microservices-based application. Before we jump into the workflow and the architecture, make sure you have reviewed part 1, where we have discussed about the system design concepts that are required to build this project. The reason I'm asking you to check that out is because you may not be able to connect the dots. So go check it out. And if you're new to this channel, welcome to my 4-part series of building an end-to-end DevOps project with AIOps integration. Let's dive in. This application is a boutique e-commerce application with 7 microservices. Each service handles a specific responsibility. We have a React front end, an API gateway, a product catalog, order services, and a user management service, which stores all the user records. These all services are backed by a single PostgreSQL instance, which we have split into 4 logical databases. Remember, this video is all about workflow and architecture. The next video is all around implementation. Let's start with our first workflow. This is the high-level system architecture. Here, all users are interacting with a front-end application. This is a React-based application served by Nginx. Now, the role of Nginx is to serve as a reverse proxy. It serves all the static files of the React app as well as forwards all the requests to the next service, that is our API gateway service. Now, this front-end app is running on port 3000 and this API gateway service is running on port 3001. Now, one thing to note here is all the requests coming from the front end goes through a single entry point, that is the API gateway service. And then the API gateway is responsible to route the request to other internal services. So you see, the front end React app is not directly communicating with the backend internal services. Everything goes through the API gateway service. Now, behind the gateway, we have multiple microservices. For example, we have the auth service that's running on port 3002. We have the product service. This is running on port 3003. Order service. This is running on port 3004. And then we have the order management service running on 3005. Now, each of these services performs a single responsibility within this system. Next, each of these services connect to a PostgreSQL instance, and each service has its own logical database. For example, auth uses auth_db, product uses product_db, order uses order_db. So that one PostgreSQL instance is logically separated into 4 different units. This way, auth service cannot read the order database information and order service cannot read like the product database information. This makes sure that there is proper service isolation and prevents tight coupling between components. Now, we also run Prometheus and Grafana in a different namespace. Prometheus collects metrics from all these services and Grafana helps visualizing those metrics through dashboards. So remember the API management piece we went through during our part 1? This is where it comes in. The front-end service sends requests to the API gateway through different paths. For example, /API/auth/API/products/API/orders, so on and so forth. The gateway receives that request, inspects the path, and then it takes the decision to route it internally to different microservices. This design keeps the front end simple. You just have to manage the UI side here. And then we also have a centralized API management layer using the API gateway service. Now, the second part. Here we are diving into the deployment side of things. Before deploying anything to the cloud, I want you to deploy everything locally first. We do that using Docker Compose. It's as simple as running a single command. But there's a lot of work that you need to do beforehand. So each microservice has its own Docker file. When we run the command docker compose up-build, it starts the full application stack. The front end running on localhost, a port 3000. The API gateway running on port 3001. Auth service, product service, order management service, user service. Also Prometheus and Grafana as well as the PostgreSQL service. Now what Docker Compose does here? It builds the custom images by also pulling from public images like Nginx, Prometheus, Grafana, PostgreSQL. Once those images are built, it starts the containers. All containers run on a shared internal Docker network so that they can communicate with each other. As we discussed in our previous workflow, the front end is served by the Nginx reverse proxy. Any request that's starting with /API is directly routed to the gateway service. This means the browser only talks to one address, which really simplifies the client-side architecture. Now, once this is done, you may see an application like this running on your local host. You can look around and get the feel of it. Deploying locally really helps you validate these services. Also helps you understand the integration part before you deploy anything to cloud. Our workflow 3 is deploying the cloud infrastructure using Terraform. Here we are using AWS as a cloud provider, and all infrastructure is defined using Terraform. So spinning up the full infrastructure is as simple as running just one command. I mean, we have to run other commands with Terraform as well, like Terraform init, Terraform plan. But the gist here is that if you run Terraform apply, it's going to spin up the whole infrastructure in your AWS cloud. You see how IAC makes life so easy? Now, in our IAC template, we are using modules, which really help separate infrastructure configuration into separate reusable components. So the same setup like networking, compute, databases can be used across different environments. You write the module once and you can use it with different configurations in different environments like dev, staging, testing, and in production. So in our project, the first module that we create is the networking layer. This includes a VPC, a CIDR range, 3 subnets across availability zone. Remember the high availability concept we learned in part 1. We have an internet gateway and route tables. Next, we have the EKS module that provisions the Kubernetes cluster. This includes the configuration required to create a cluster, the worker node groups, IAM roles for the cluster and the nodes so that it can communicate with other services. The OIDC provider for service accounts, which basically allows Kubernetes service accounts to assume a role without storing credentials. Security system design concept. And we also use the EBS CSI driver add-on. The EBS CSI driver is very critical here. It allows Kubernetes to dynamically create EBS volumes. Without it, a PostgreSQL stateful set will have no persistent storage. We also create ECR repositories which stores the images of all the microservices. And using the Terraform template, we deploy Argo CD for GitOps and Kube Prometheus stack for monitoring. Everything is modularized using Terraform modules, which keeps everything clean and reusable. In total, a single Terraform apply command provisions 30 AWS resources. Then our next workflow is CI/CD pipeline with GitHub Actions. Whenever code is pushed to a project main branch, a workflow defining the ci.yaml file gets triggered. This pipeline uses a matrix strategy to build 7 services in parallel. Each job performs the same steps: authenticate with AWS ECR, build the Docker image from the Docker file, tag the image using the git commit SHA, and then push the image to the ECR repository. Using that matrix build is very important because it builds all the services simultaneously instead of building them sequentially, which reduces a lot of pipeline time. Since all the images are also tagged with the commit SHA rather than the latest tag, it really helps with traceability. So at any point, we can identify which version is currently running and if anything breaks. Rollback simply means redeploying the previous commit SHA. Now our next workflow is setting up observability with Prometheus and Grafana. Every microservice exposes a metrics endpoint at /metrics. Now Prometheus discovers these services using a Kubernetes resource called Service Monitor. The Service Monitor tells Prometheus which containers it needs to scrape for metrics. And Prometheus collects these metrics every 15 seconds and then store it as a time series data. Grafana then connects to Prometheus and visualizes the data through dashboards. The Service Monitor YAML acts as a bridge between our monitoring stack with Prometheus and our application containers. Without this resource, Prometheus will not know our services exist. So it's very critical. For each service, we monitor 3 key signals: request rate, error rate, latency, and if a deployment introduces a problem, the Grafana dashboard shows the impact immediately. Now, our next workflow, GitOps with Argo CD. Argo CD is basically you're deploying another application that keeps an eye on whatever is changing in the cluster as well as in the GitHub repo. Inside our project repository, we have a GitOps directory that contains all the Kubernetes manifests required to set up GitOps. Argo CD is configured with an application manifest that watches the GitHub repo, specifically the main branch and this directory. Whenever a change is pushed to Git, Argo CD immediately synchronizes the cluster state. The customization.yaml file defines all the resources required for this Argo CD application. Now, Argo CD is configured with 2 important options. Prune set to true means if a manifest is removed from the Git, it will also be removed from the cluster. Second, self-heal is set to true Means if someone manually changes anything in the cluster, Argo CD will automatically revert the cluster state to match whatever is in the Git. So the GitOps deployment loop looks like this. If a developer updates an image tag in a manifest, once the change is committed and pushed to the Git, Argo CD detects the change. It applies the updated manifest to Kubernetes, and then Kubernetes performs a rolling update to all the pods. All of this happens automatically. Now, another thing that Argo CD helps with, if an engineer goes and changes the replicas in a deployment, Argo CD operator deployed in the cluster constantly watches the state of that particular deployment and synchronizes it with whatever is in the Git. Now, the other side, if an engineer manually changes the number of replicas in the deployment, let's say they change from 3 to 5 pods now, the Argo CD operator keeps an eye on it. It goes and checks the Git repo. If there are 3 replicas in the manifest, it's going to scale down your deployment. So you see, all of this happens automatically. Now, these are the workflows that we'll implement in our next part. We also have the AIOps workflow, but we'll be covering more on that architecture in our part 4. So stay tuned. Just to recap, this project covers these DevOps workflows: local development and deployment using Docker Compose, cloud infrastructure provisioning using Terraform, CI/CD pipeline with GitHub Actions and parallel builds, observability with Prometheus and Grafana dashboards, GitOps deployment using Argo CD. In the next video, we'll start building the system from scratch, also using Claude Code. See you in the next part.